Alright everyone, today I want to tell you a little bit about my adventures that I had in the last few weeks because I was a little bit unlucky with most of my travels this year, and that started already in January when I was flying to Poland for IEM, and when I after that went to France for Iron Squid. And I'm pretty sure that some of you remember the stories that I told back then. I had really a lot of problems with my flights, also with the train connections that I had. So it was a bit of an atrocious adventure, but it was nothing compared to what happened to me within the last 3 weeks. And if you follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, you probably have a bit of an idea what exactly went on. If you don't follow me there, then you should definitely do that. Twitter.com/Khaldor, and my Facebook page is facebook.com/KhaldorTV. So check that out. But I only gave you a couple of glimpses of what exactly happened. So I'm gonna run with you through the entire endeavor there. So originally everything was actually planned out really well. So I had 2 events lined up. I had the WCG in China, and a couple of days, I think actually it was the week after that. Yeah, it was the week after that when I was supposed to fly to Hamburg for an ACES event. In Hamburg there's a big LAN, it's the North Cone, it's the biggest LAN actually in Germany. So for me it was like pretty amazing because not only could I finally commentate at a tournament in not only Europe but also Germany, I could also just visit my family. So everything was just absolutely perfect, and I'm like, okay, this is so well mapped out. So the original plan was on Monday morning to go to the airport to fly to China, and the problem with China always is that you need a visa for that, of course. The problem with getting the visa in Korea is that the Korean visa policy is a little bit weird when you want to apply for a Chinese visa. I don't know exactly why, but what you have to do is you have to, well, if you want to apply for a visa for China while you are in Korea as a German citizen, you have to have at least another 6 months of a valid visa for Korea, which I do not have at the end of the year because we usually get our visas at the beginning of the year. So at the end of the year, I only have like a month or 2 left. So what I had to do is I had to go to Hong Kong and get my visa in Hong Kong. And that's not really a problem because you can imagine Hong Kong being the gateway to China. And there are a lot of visa agencies that are absolutely specialized to give you or to get you the visa within like a day or 2. And the year before, I also cast a WCG. So it was pretty easy for me to actually like just go to Hong Kong, get the visa within a day usually, and then you go straight to China and to Shanghai. So the idea was on a Monday morning to fly to Hong Kong, to then go to the visa agency right away, apply for the visa, get the visa on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday I would fly out again to Shanghai, would then attend WCG, come back to Korea for a couple of days and fly back to Germany. So everything easy as. The problem started already a little bit when we arrived at the airport, and I had to wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning because we had a really early flight to Hong Kong. So I woke up really early, I got myself a coffee, I already packed like most of the stuff, so that was quite easy. Went to the airport and was there one of the first ones in line. And as soon as I arrived, the guy at the airport tells me, well, sir, where are you flying today? I'm like, I want to go to Hong Kong. So he checks my flight and he says immediately, oh, well, so your flight has been cancelled. I'm like, what? Why did my flight get cancelled? Yeah, there was apparently some problem with the airspace over China. Don't ask me what happened. I have absolutely no idea, but that's what he said. And my flight got cancelled. I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Like, do you guys get me a new flight? What's going on? And he said that a few hours later, they could put me on a different flight that was completely run by an airline that they worked with, which is fine for me. The problem is, my flight therefore got delayed by like 5 hours, I think, in total. And that meant that I would arrive in Hong Kong quite late. And I actually checked the times and the opening times for the visa agency in Hong Kong and realized that we would probably arrive after they already closed. So we couldn't apply for the visa that day. And at that point, I already thought, well, that might get a little bit iffy with our flights to Shanghai. But the first thing that I did was I contacted our handler for WCG and told him, listen, there might be a problem. I don't know just yet. I'll go to the visa agency first thing in the morning. I'll be there and I'll tell you as soon as I know. So he was absolutely fine with that. He was like, all right, just keep me in the loop. So we went to the visa agency in the morning, and all of us, like I was there with Doa, with Wolf, with Monte Cristo, and Justin, a couple of others. So we applied, and we talked to the guy, and we were like, dude, like, when can we get our visa? And he's like, okay, you can pick it up the next day, roughly at 2 p.m. So the next day was Wednesday then. But our flights were already leaving at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So all of our flights had suddenly to be rebooked, which was already a bad thing. But we would still arrive in time. Then suddenly he looks at my passport and he's like, oh, you're German? And I'm like, yeah, I'm German. Like, why? Is that a problem? He's like, I can't give you the express visa if you're from Germany. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, last year I came here too, I got the express visa without a problem at all. And he's like, yeah, but they changed the law. I'm like, what do you mean they changed the law? Yeah, when you're from Germany, you can't get the express visa anymore. You have to apply for the regular visa. And I'm like, what? When exactly would I get the regular visa then? And he's like, well, the regular visa, you would get that on Friday. I'm like, what? On Friday? How am I supposed to go to China in time? So that's where the troubles immediately started. So I talked to the handler again and I explained the situation, and they said like, all right, listen, it's no problem at all. It's fine. Just make sure that you get your visa and then, yeah, come to China as fast as you can and come to Shanghai. It's going to be all right. So I booked myself another 2 days and another 2 nights in Hong Kong in hotels. And I thought, well, now I have a lot more time on my hands, so it's time to actually do something for my YouTube channel. Because I packed everything, like I had my stand, I had 3 different microphones with me, and my plan was to record a lot of things from Hong Kong, to record stuff from China, to record things from WCG and put it on my YouTube channel to do a little bit of stuff for you guys. So I was like, well, I have 2 more days. Nothing to do about that, so the least that I can do is produce some content. So I went to my room and I started unpacking everything. And I had my big stand there, I had like microphone number 1, microphone number 2, there was also grip that I brought with me, and all the other technical equipment. I was looking around and I was like, where's my camera? And I couldn't find my camera, like for the life of it, I couldn't find it. So I went through everything. And then at the end I realized that my camera was still Seoul. So I brought all that really bulky and heavy equipment with me that took up so much space. And the most important thing, this shitty tiny camera was still in Seoul. It turned out that it actually fell off the bed and rolled under the bed, and that's what I couldn't find it, and why I thought I had it already like in my luggage. So the next 3 days in Hong Kong were fun with shopping, but then at some point also a little bit boring, especially since WCG started, and the only thing I wanted to do was cast those freaking games. But all right, Friday morning finally came, and I was already annoyed by that point, as you can realize. I mean, the first flight canceled, then the visa issues and everything. So I went to the visa agency first thing in the morning on Friday. I was actually like praying that everything would work, and it turned out that everything was fine. He gave me my visa and was like, yeah, have a good day, sir. So I had a couple of hours to spare, but I thought, well, get to the airport early just in case. So I drive to the airport, and there's an airport train that runs from like Hong Kong or some of the inner stations straight to the airport. So I took the train, and by that time I had like 3 pieces of luggage and my messenger bag. And my messenger bag, there's my tablet, my Kindle, my passport, like my everything. So the train arrives, and I'm talking to this girl on my phone, like with Messenger, the entire time of the train trip, and explain to her that everything is like a little bit annoying right now, and she's still in Korea. So I talk with her a little bit, explain the situation. My station comes up, and I leave, and I go upstairs and go to like the check-in counters. And at the check-in, the girls are immediately like, okay, so where do you want to fly today? I'm like, oh, I want to fly to Shanghai. Oh, that's great, sir. Could I please have your passport? Like, of course, darling. So I turn around and my messenger bag is gone. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. There's everything in there. There's my passport, there's my tablet, everything. And I'm like, if I lost my passport right now, I'm going to be stuck in this city for like eternity. And I just think about, okay, where could it be? Where could it be? Did I leave it at the passport agency? And I'm like, no, I didn't. You had it before. You had it in the cab. Did I lose it in the cab? And I'm like, God, no. So I realized it must be in the airport train. So I turn around, I look at her in horror. She looks at me like really confused. And I just turn around and I run. I hope she didn't really take that as any hint of what I thought about her makeup that day, but like I was a bit rude, I think. So I just turned and I ran to the information center and to the train, and the train just leaves the station when I come out. I'm like, no! Try to jump for the doors, but it's already too late. So I'm really like trying to like get my bag back, and it was absolutely annoying. But like long story short, I actually got it. Like I'm not joking, like an hour later I had my bag, there was everything in there. It kind of involved like talking to 3 different like whatever help centers and no idea. Waiting there for like half an hour while they told me they would bring the bag over from a different station. I didn't even have to go anywhere. Turned out that at some point like the one guy apparently took over another case and forgot about the bag, and then it took a little bit longer, which worked out because, smart as I am, I went to the airport really early. So I nearly fucked that one up, But that was the only part where I was actually at fault, and turned out that in the end it didn't really matter. But still, I want to mention it because it's like part of why I was near crying when I actually arrived in Hamburg. So that happened. And I wanted to check in again. So I go to the counter again and I give them my passport and I want to check in. And the first thing they say, like, oh, so you have to go to this and this counter. This is the wrong counter. I'm like, what? All right. So I go to the next counter, I wait in line again, and I wait for another 10 minutes. And I'm getting a little bit like itchy because like, okay, look at the time, like that should still work out. And it's fine, it's still 2 hours early, but still. So I go to the next counter, I stand in line again, I wait again, and I arrive at the front, and they're like, no sir, you have to go to the other counter. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just came from that counter, they sent me here. And they're like, yeah, but this is like only the partner airline, the flight is actually being run by these guys. And I'm like, oh my God. So in the end, I stood in like 4 different lines and went to 3 different counters, and finally they checked me in, and I'm like, and immediately at the check-in, the guy asks me, oh, sir, by the way, we have to inform you, your flight is delayed. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Dude, like, I'm used to that by now. So how much time? He's like, an hour. And I'm like, 1 hour. Come on, dude. Like, what's 1 hour? I'm used to, like, so much more by now. So I take the extra hour and I get myself some food. Go through the check-in, security, and all the shebang, and get myself some food, and then go down to the gate, and I check the gate and make sure that everything's fine. I have still an hour left, so I ask, okay, when exactly is boarding? And the girl at the counter tells me, yeah, boarding is roughly in like 40 minutes. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be right over there. There are some power plugs. I'm gonna be right over there with my laptop and with everything. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in a bit then. Half an hour later, I come back to the gate and I look up the information and my flight is missing. I'm like, what? So I look at it again and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the flight was right there, so what happened? So I go to the gate and I go to the guy that stands there by now and I ask him, listen, I'm supposed to go to Shanghai now and my flight is about to board in like 10 minutes, but I can't find any information about it, so could you please tell me what happened? And he's like, oh yes, sir, your plane just left Shanghai. And I'm like, what do you mean my plane just left Shanghai? I want to go to Shanghai. We're in Hong Kong, dude. I'm not in Shanghai and I don't want to travel anywhere else. I want to go to Shanghai. So planes leaving Shanghai don't interest me. I don't care about them. I care about the planes leaving Hong Kong. And he's like, oh, no, sir, you don't understand. Like, your plane just left Shanghai and it will arrive here in 2.5 hours, and then half an hour later, we're going to fly back. I'm like, what? 2.5 hours? I'm like, I asked you guys already 3 times now if my plane would be like on time, like disregarding that 1 hour delay. And you said like we would board in half an hour. And you knew by that time already that my plane hasn't even left Shanghai and you didn't even tell me. I got a little bit mad. I have to say that I started to get a little bit angry, especially since a couple of those Chinese guys behind me started to just try to push past me and talk to him in Chinese. And I'm like, dude, go online. So 2.5 hours plus another 30 minutes, so 3 hours in total. I had to wait again. I was tiny little bit annoyed. Quick shout out that's to Hachi, by the way, who had to entertain me for like 2 hours on Skype. Thank God Skype worked. That kind of saved me. So that at least went well. So I waited another 2.5 hours at the airport. The problem, of course, now was that I would arrive in China 4 hours later than I was supposed to. Actually, I think it was 4.5 even. And so I asked like the guys in China, guys, do I have a shuttle? And they were like, well, you arrive at 1 a.m. in the morning, like there's no shuttle, dude. And the airport is an hour away from the hotel. So I'm like, how on earth am I supposed to go get to the hotel then? They're like, well, just get a cab. And I'm like, a cab at 1 a.m. in China. All right, that's gonna be fun. I was smart enough to ask them to send me the address in Chinese and not in English. So I go to China and we come out of the airport and there are like 70 people, like I'm not kidding. There's like a massive line waiting for cabs. It was like, oh my God. Thankfully, there were also like a shit ton of cabs and there were a couple of policemen like just making sure that we get the cab. So waiting time was a bit annoying, but it was okay. So I get into my cab and there's an old guy and the only English word that he knows is okay. I'm not joking, that's the only word that he knew. And I'm like tired. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I'm really exhausted. I have this entire shebang behind me waiting at the airport once again. And I'm just asking myself, what did I do wrong? Was I really such a bad boy in the last year that I deserve all these things with the flights right now? But I just got my mobile phone out and I show him the address. And suddenly he's like going in Chinese. I'm like, what? And he's going again. I'm like, dude, here, address, go, hotel. And he's like, okay. And then once again, Chinese. And I didn't understand shit. I didn't understand a thing. I was really trying and I was like thinking, okay, what could he mean? And I'm like, probably he doesn't know where the hotel is because it's like an hour's drive away. So I'm like, dude, let's just talk to someone. And suddenly he just starts driving and you could already tell that he doesn't really know what's happening because he starts calling people and he wants to see the address again and starts talking to me in Chinese the entire time. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna drive me in some back alley and they're gonna rob me blind. And I'm gonna end up dead in a ditch, I don't know. So I was just sitting there and I was always like kissing my life goodbye. I'm like, this is never gonna happen. And I didn't care at that point anymore. I was so tired. I was like, yeah, fuck this. So in the end, it took me like 1.5 hours to get to the hotel. He was basically driving past the hotel already. We asked like 3 different cab drivers. He made calls and he got me there. I mean, I have to give him that much. I think he ripped me off in the end when I had to pay him, but like only by a little bit, so that doesn't really matter. Chinese, like everything in China is pretty cheap, so didn't really matter giving him a little bit more money because that ended up like being like maybe $5 more. I don't know. He was happy, I was finally there, so that was all right. So then I finally was at WCG, and I mean, WCG was amazing, don't get me wrong. Chinese audiences are great because there's a massive enthusiasm for esports, and it was just, the event was brilliant. The event, like the streams, I knew that they had a lot of problems with stuttering and lag, but for us on site, the event was great. So I finally thought, all right, this is done with, right? Like, I mean, it can't get any worse. I have my share of bad luck already, like all those canceled flights, the delayed flights, like everything that happened so far, so that's it. And the next thing I'm gonna do is I go to Germany. So we traveled back to Korea, and that was already a little bit of a nuisance, but I'm not gonna go into that because there was a problem with like bus schedules. We'll fuck that up a little bit. But in the end, we kind of managed and arrived at the airport in time for our flight. We didn't miss it, thank God. Went back to Korea and I had 3 days left. So 3 days was a little bit short and I had a lot of shit to do within those 3 days. And then I flew to Germany. And of course my flight was delayed again, but once again, only the, like this 1 hour like timing window. And by that time, I'm like, I didn't even care anymore. So I'm like, well, everything's gonna go well. So I fly to Prague. And we arrived in Prague already a little bit late because of the delay that I mentioned earlier. And then I had to get my transit flight. So I saw already that it was getting a little bit like short, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna miss that flight. So I sprint across this airport and I just go through security. At security, I have to wait. I have no idea why I had to go through a second security. I really don't get it. I just came from an international flight and I went to another one, so whatever. Went to security and I sprint to my gate. I'm like, and I arrive and I look at my gate and there's my flight number and there's a big fat cancel right behind it. And I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. So I go again to the information desk and like, think about what happened the last 10 days at this point to me. I was done. I was absolutely done. I was near crying. I was just standing there. I was like, what did I do? Like, what did I do wrong, dear God? Tell me. So I went to the information desk again and I asked them, all right, could you please tell me what's going on? My flight got canceled. And they say, yeah, your flight got canceled. I'm like, no kidding. I know that. Why? Tell me why and tell me when I can go to Hamburg. And she's like, yeah, there's a massive storm in Hamburg right now and the airport has been closed. I'm like, fuck my life. And I'm like, of course it has been closed. Like, what else? So I asked her, when's the next flight? And she's like, oh, 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. I'm like, what? 7 o'clock in the morning tomorrow? Oh my God. So I had, okay, now the good part. I mean, it was a shitty situation, but I have to give it to like the airline. They gave me a hotel room at the airport for 1 night, so I didn't have to sleep at the airport. That was the big plus, and that really helped. So I have to really thank them for that. But yeah, so I had to spend another night in Prague and there was nothing to do. I mean, I was at the airport. It was not like I could go partying or anything. And I had to work the next morning. I actually was pretty sure they would arrive just in time for the event in Hamburg. So basically the next morning I had to wake up at 5 o'clock again because like, well, the plane was leaving at 7. Actually left at 7, and it was pretty fun. I mean, I arrived in Hamburg, and there was a bit of a communication problem with the guys in Hamburg, so nobody really was there to pick me up, and it took another hour to get someone there, which was not a big deal. It was just a miscommunication, so shit happens. But yeah, so I finally arrived at the event. We had the entire event. We got a lot of delays and technical difficulties at the tournament in Hamburg, as you might know already if you followed me on Facebook or Twitter. We tweeted a little bit about that and talked about it during the stream. But yeah, there were a lot of technical problems, and in the end I think I slept within like 4 days. I slept like 10 hours. Last night I didn't sleep at all, so I was supposed to actually go to Berlin and cast in German with Maury together a little bit, and I just canceled. I was like, dude, I'm dying here. I'm really dying. I am absolutely done. This traveling the last few weeks has killed me. The only thing that I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna book myself a train, drive to my dad's place, and I'm gonna sleep. Another fun thing that happened was that I had my Korean credit card with me, and I went to like the hotel and asked them, like in the morning I got my breakfast and I paid with my credit card, and I asked them, all right, where's the train station? And they pointed their direction and said like, yeah, it's about like 2 or 3 kilometers. Should we get you a cab, sir? Like, no, I'm gonna walk. I really wanted to walk, want to clear my head a little bit. It was early in the morning, I didn't sleep, so I just want to get like fresh air. And I walked to the train station. And I want to get myself some money, so I go to the first ATM and I put my credit card in, and I'm trying to get money, and the credit card, the ATM refuses my credit card. And like as I said, like at this time I hadn't slept for like 30 hours, and I was exhausted. So I'm like, what? Why doesn't the thing accept my credit card? I'm like, fuck Germany. So I go to the next ATM, try the same thing, denied. I'm like, what? See a bank, and I'm like, okay, stupid ATMs at the train station. I'm going to go to the bank now. And tried it again, doesn't work. And in Korea, if you make a transaction with your credit card, you get a text message. So suddenly my phone went absolutely ham, like had an orgasm like crazy, like beep, 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 beep. And I got like 7 text messages, and it says like credit limit exceeded. So what apparently happened is when I went shopping in Hong Kong, apparently I have a monthly limit of how much I can use. I don't even remember putting that in. But when I went shopping in Hong Kong, and when I had to book all those extra hotel nights, I of course used my credit card. So that kind of nearly maxed out my credit card. Then I got the breakfast in the morning, and that killed it, snap. So I couldn't even get my fucking ticket back home into the city where I live. And my German cards, I just ordered new pins for the German cards because I have to admit I forgot them, and the pins were in at my dad's place. So I'm standing there in the middle of nowhere, my credit card doesn't work anymore, and I'm like, please kill me now someone. It was horrible. So I walked back to the hotel, and thankfully there were like Mark and Grubby were still there, and they were actually driving to Hamburg because the event was a little bit outside of Hamburg. So they took me with them, and yeah, Grubby owed me a couple of bucks that I lent him a few days earlier anyway, so he just gave me my money back, and I could finally, like, it was so nice. We went to Hamburg, I bought my ticket, and the next 6 hours I was actually just in the train and driving home. I arrived at my dad's place, I slept for 12 hours straight. The next few days I just chilled. And that was the end of my travel. So the Khaldor-Travel-Curse is definitely real. It's a thing, and I hope that it's over. Because in like 2 days I'm gonna fly back to Korea, and I really hope that that goes well. I have to go back to Hamburg, and then I fly to Korea, which is a little bit annoying because Frankfurt would be much better for me. I hope it's gonna go well, but yeah. That was my travel experience, at least the broad strokes. I left out a couple of details because that would have probably just killed the entire video. But yeah, so as you can see, I had a very entertaining end of the year. And right now I'm gonna go back to Korea, and let's see what Korea holds for me. There are gonna be a few changes in the next year. I'm gonna talk about that also pretty soon. And just wanted to share that story with you. So I really hope that I arrive in Korea, that my plane doesn't get canceled, that my train doesn't get delayed so that I miss my plane, and that, well, the plane doesn't get hijacked and I'm gonna be sold in like Egypt or Africa to someone who trades me for a camel or 2. Even though I think I'm at least worth 3 camels, just put that out there. Yeah, so I hope everything is gonna go well and that I will be back in Korea very soon to give you guys a few more videos. There should also be a Code A qualifier coming our way where I will once again record first-person videos, so make sure to check that out. And yeah, that's it for the day. So I hope you enjoyed the story and had at least a little bit of a laugh. It was pretty annoying living it, but in hindsight, it's always a little bit funny. So guys, talk to you soon. Have a great end of the year, and yeah, bye-bye.